Question: why was civil disobedience movement? Are you able to hear what I say? Are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Why was civil disobedience movement? Renewed by Gandhiji. Gandhiji renewed the civil disobedience movement. Gandhiji renewed the civil disobedience movement. Because of the following reasons. Because of the following reason. After the second round table, Gandhiji returned India. Gandhiji returned India disappointed. Second point, the Great Depression of 1930 the Great Depression of 1930 in the world also hit the farmers in India. The Great Depression of 1930 in the world also hit the farmers in India. Third point, Gandhiji sought an interview with Irvin, Lord Irvin. Gandhiji sought an interview with Lord Irvin, but it was refused. Refused. Last point, Congress passed a resolution for the renewal of Congress passed a resolution for the renewal of civil disobedience movement. So Gandhiji renewed the civil disobedience movement. In 1931, renewed the civil disobedience movement. Renewed means again started.
The third point, can you please repeat?
That's just a question. Why did Gandhiji call off civil disobedience movement? Why did Gandhiji call off the civil disobedience movement in 1931? Answer. Gandhiji called off the civil disobedience movement in 1931 On the agreement of Gandhi-Irwin Pact. On the agreement of Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Written.
Yes, sir.
Have we completed this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Next one. What is civil disobedience movement? The civil disobedience movement was different from non-cooperation movement. It was different from non-cooperation movement. The non-cooperation movement sought to bring the working of government to a standstill. But a CDM means a non-civil disobedience movement. But the CDM aim to paralyze the administration by performing specific illegal acts. The Congress Working Committee, next point. the Congress Working Committee, met in February 1930 at the Sabarmati Ashram and vested Gandhiji powers to launch the civil disobedient movement. Powers to launch the civil disobedient movement. Next one, before starting the movement, Gandhiji served on the British government an 11-point ultimatum. Next point, but the government did not respond to his ultimatum. So Gandhiji started the movement. This movement. With his famous Dandi March. From the Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. On the Gujarat coast. Followers reached Dandi on 6th of April. Gandhiji violated the SALT laws. By picking up some salt. Left by the sea waves. So Gandhiji started CDM. By breaking by breaking obnoxious salt law. Obnoxious. EOBNOXIOUS. Obnoxious salt law. Then main aims. First one, to break the salt laws. To break the salt laws, as it was a symbol of defiance of, as a symbol of defiance of defiance of defiance of the laws made by the government. Second one, to convert national movement into mass movement. To boycott of liquor. To boycott of foreign clothes and British goods. Non-payment of taxes and revenues. These are what is called a civil disobedience. Impact of the civil disobedience movement is there. Progress of the movement is there in the syllabus. Is there progress of the movement? Harshit,
Yes, sir.
progress of the movement is there.
Sir, I don't know.
Then who knows?
Sir, you check in the syllabus.
Wait. Gandhi again packed a second round table. Quit India movement causes failure of Peace Commission. Japanese threat. Quit India resolutions. Chauri Chaura incident. Civil disobedience movement causes declaration of Purna Swaraj at Lahore session. That I told you yesterday, no? Then Dandi March, program and impact of the movement. Civil disobedience movement impact is there. Please write, what are the impact of the civil disobedience movement? What are the impact of the civil disobedience movement? Have you written the questions? Right. The impact of the civil disobedience movement are the following. First point, the movement caused a tide of patriotic fervor. The movement caused a tide of patriotic fervor in the country that would not leave the government in peace. That would not leave the government in peace. Second, CDM widened the base of the freedom struggle. CDM widened the base of the freedom struggle. Next point, it made people understand the significance of the principles of non-violence. The movement changed the social conditions of the people. The movement changed the social conditions of the people. Next one, it brought the women out of their homes. It brought the women out of their homes to participate in politics, and to make them equal partners in the freedom struggle. And to make them equal partners in the freedom struggle. The government was convinced that the basic constitutional reforms were necessary. So government introduced the Government of India Act 1935. So these are the questions from these chapters. Okay, question answer is over. Then there is no, I want to explain this CDM. And you see, we have seen non-cooperation movement. And also we understood non-cooperation movement was called off by Gandhi after Chaudhry Chaura incident. But you know, after that incident, Chaudhry Chaura incident, Gandhiji called off the non-cooperation movement. But Gandhiji was criticized as he called off this non-cooperation. And then some of the leaders like Motilal Nehru and all, they wanted to what is called continue this non-cooperation. But they criticized Gandhiji, and so what is called they wanted to follow this non-cooperation. And so they wanted to get into the provincial legislative assemblies. There they could do what is called this non-cooperation. So make the government stand still. So the people, those who took the decision, continue this non-cooperation movement, get into what is called state legislative, provincial legislative council, and make this state legislative council stand still. And then they formed what is called a Swaraj party, who formed Motilal Nehru and formed a Swaraj party. When this Swaraj party was formed, so this Swaraj party that was before that you have seen the Lord Bergen, he what is called, he told the Indians that the Simon Commission was not included any Indians. This is because of Indians' problems. Indians could not come to an agreement on any issues. And so then what happened? These people, that means this government, what is called Motilal Nehru and all, then asked what is called asked to take the challenge. Then they prepared what is called a report, and they had submitted this report to what is called the government of British, and they had given an ultimatum to accept this report. But the government did not show any response to this report. Government did not show any response to this report. And finally, what happened? Finally, then in that means Kolkata session of the Congress, that means decided that this ultimatum was lapsed. Now this government of Congress could start new methods to attain freedom. And then Lahore session of the Congress was held. In the Lahore session of the Congress in the Indian history, in the there is no Indian freedom struggle, it is very important. Because in the Lahore session of the Congress decided what is called decided to celebrate 26th January every year as a what is called Independence Day. And in the after the Lahore sessions, that is midnight, Nehru marched towards the bank of the river Ravi. He hosted the tricolor flag. So you see, this is what is called very important for in the Congress. And the Congress people decided to celebrate 26th January as Independence Day, every year as an Independence Day. And so this is what is called a Lahore session of the Congress. So Lahore session of the Congress is also declared Purna Swaraj is the ultimate aim of the Congress. That is why Purna Swaraj, complete independence. So because Gandhiji served the British government with the ultimatum, and that is with what is called the Nehru report. But this British government did not show any response to that Nehru report. That is Nehru report. And because of that, in Kolkata session of the Congress, they decided this Nehru report lapsed. Then the Congress would go with the new methods of protest. And part of this one, the Lahore session of the Congress decided to celebrate 26th January as what is called the Independence Day every year. And the Purna Swaraj would be the complete independence would be the ultimate aim of the Congress. They decided. And then that is midnight, Nehru marched towards the bank of river Ravi. On the bank of river Ravi, first time he hosted the tricolor flag. This is what is called a Lahore session and Purna Swaraj. Resolution was passed. Then you see what happened. And in between what is called when before Gandhiji started this civil disobedience movement, he was arrested and kept in the jail. But when Gandhiji was arrested and kept in the jail, but the government understood. The government must satisfy the Indians. If they could not satisfy Indians, so they could not survive in India. And so they decided to conduct what is called a round table conference in London. First round table conference, nobody attended. That means from the Congress side, nobody attended. And so the British understood, without the participation of the Congress, the round table conference became a fruitless. And so that is why, they decided to have a negotiation with the Congress. To negotiate with the Congress, Gandhiji was in the jail. So the Lord Irwin decided to negotiate with Gandhiji, who is in the jail, through some intermediaries. Who are their intermediaries? Jaysadar and Deshpal Sapru. So these two intermediaries were sent to the jail to negotiate with the government. But actually that means they were the representatives of Lord Irwin. Finally, Gandhiji and Irwin came to an agreement. And this agreement is called what? Gandhi-Irwin Pact. It was signed between Gandhiji and Lord Irwin. And this, the pact which is signed between Gandhiji and Irwin, Lord Irwin, is called what? Gandhi-Irwin Pact. According to this Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Congress, that is now promised that they will stop civil disobedience movement. And second condition, the Congress agreed that, and the Congress would attend the second round table conference. And then that is the government also what is called a promise from their side, what is called, what are the promises given by the government? There are a number of promises, what is called government that is also promised. First one is what is called they release all political prisoners except guilty of violence. And they would withdraw all the ordinance and end their prosecutions. They permit peaceful picketing of liquors and foreign goods, and restore the confiscated properties of satyagrahis, and permit free collections and manufacture of salt by persons. They agreed. In return, Congress agreed what is called suspend the civil disobedience movement, participate in the second round table conference, not to press for investigation into police success. These were the Congress side promises. But finally, what happened? They agreed, and Gandhiji attended the second round table conference in London, 1931. But what happened? Second round table was a failure, because the people, those who attended the second round table, stood for a communal electorate. Most of the people, that is Christians, Hindus, that is Muslims, Sikhs, all the sections of the society stood for a separate electorate. But Gandhiji did not support this separate electorate. And so then nobody spoke about what is called the independence of India. Instead of all the sections of the people spoke in the second round table about the communal electorate. So Gandhiji got a disappointment. Gandhiji returned to India. And then that time what is called a Great Depression hit the Indian farmers. Indian farmers were struggling too much. And then Gandhiji wanted to meet whom? Irwin, the Lord Irwin. But this interview was refused. And then Gandhiji decided to restart this civil disobedience movement. You see, for attending the second round table conference, Gandhiji called off this civil disobedience movement. After the second round table conference, Gandhiji returned India disappointed, because all the communities, Sikh communities, Christian communities, all these communities stood for a communal electorate. But the Gandhiji did not support that. And nobody spoke about the independence of India. And instead of that, they stood for a communal electorate. And it made Gandhiji disappointed. He came back to India. When he came back to India, the Great Depressions hit the Indian farmers, and Gandhiji wanted to talk with, or he had an interview with Lord Irwin, but it was refused. When it was refused, then Gandhiji, what is called, decided to start this civil disobedience movement. But before starting the civil disobedience movement, you must know that the civil disobedience movement is entirely different from non-cooperation. It was meant to paralyze the administration. by breaking some of the specific illegal act, by doing some specific illegal acts. That is, non-cooperation movements made the government stand still, but this one is paralyzing the government administration. This was what is called a non-cooperation movement. But the non-cooperation movement, before starting the non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji gave 11 points of ultimatum to the government. And the government did not respond to these 11 points of ultimatum. And then Gandhiji decided to launch this civil disobedience movement by making a famous Dandi March. Dandi is what is called a coastal village in Gujarat. From Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, he and his followers marched, and reaching the Dandi, he broke the salt law by picking up some of the salt. And by doing that, he started this civil disobedience movement. This is what is called all about the civil disobedience movement. Are you able to understand? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Only two are saying that is. Others?